Hey friends, Jessica here from Creators Couture, and I am back in tutorial mode and so excited to share some creativity with you guys again. I've had a really nice time off, but now I'm just chomping at the bit to get back to work. So in this tutorial, what we're going to do is take some inspiration from this Gucci look that I saw, and then we're going to create some really easy illustrations, and then you can do whatever you want with it. You can turn it into a card, you can turn it into a template design, you could create digital papers for sale, or just whatever you like. And in this video, I'm also going to show you some palettes and resources that I made specific to this look, and these will be available also. These are extras that are available to my Behance subscribers, so definitely check that out if you're not a Behance subscriber. It's a lot of really like extras, and it also is these little turn kit sort of kits so that you don't have to do the work. I do it all for you. So it's a lot of fun. So what I did was, first of all, I created some color palettes that were inspired by this. And when I was looking at this Gucci look, I really liked the colors, and I think that they're a real fresh combination. And so I started with that. And so I think that you can use these color palettes that I made for a lot of different seasons, floral things for year round. They really don't have a time limit. So I think this is a really fun color palette, like you can use all the time. And also I liked how basically these were sequined flowers, but whenever I was on my interpretation of the taking, the inspiration from this Gucci look, I thought I would do like slightly different direction. So I wanted to create these like wet paint stroke flowers and then just put a little bit of sparkle on them rather than them be whole all sparkle. So the brushes that I used for this tutorial were my wet paint mixer brushes. Actually, I used just one brush from that collection, and I used some of my Creative Couture layer styles to add the sparkles, and that was pretty much it. So it's really easy. And basically one brush. So I'm just going to kind of go through a little bit my process and show you how I did this. And again, these resources will be available for my Behance subscribers. So the first thing that I did was I wanted to create my color blends that were from this outfit. So I'm not going to show you the whole detail of the step. I'll have a link down below. But I created my multicolor color blend palettes based on this image, and then I turned them into wet brush palettes. So what I did first of all was I sampled little sections of the dress, and once I selected an area that I like I like all those blues inside there, then I went to edit define pattern and I clicked OK, and then that's how I created my color blends for my pattern stamp brushes. And if you're not familiar with my pattern stamp color blending brushes, I'll have a link down below. So I created these color blend palettes like that. And at first I just sampled the images. And then I created, I kind of tweaked my palettes a little bit. So that's how I created those. And again, I'll have links below if this is like something kind of new to you. But a lot of my followers are really familiar with this process. And then I created wet paint palettes based on those. And if you want to know how to make your own wet paint palettes, I'll have the link down below. So I'll link to both of those foundation techniques that I use all the time. So basically, I created my color blends from this from this image directly. So we've got like, let's just scroll out here. So, we've got these blues, we've got the greens, and then the two tones of pink, which are really fun. And so up here, we've got the color blends for those brushes. And then down here on the bottom left, we have some wet paint palettes and then also some solid color palettes. And so that's going to give you a real jump start to creating your own items. And also, I created even these little I've created the illustrations. The illustrations will also be available to my subscribers, and you can even use these in items for sale. So I have a lot of value here, but I'm also going to show you guys if you want to get some ideas for your own projects. So I'm going to show you how I did those. Oh, excuse me. Okay, so let's just go over here to an empty document. And what's fun is like once you make these illustrations and stuff, I created this master document and then I merged them and then I just drag and drop them into my other documents. So you could make like a vertical background design. You could make a square design. So you've got some space here for perhaps a quote graphic, or you could turn it into like a card or whatever. So I'm just going to go here and I've got a nice kind of a flesh colored backdrop because we have that that's kind of how the background is on the look, you know, it's the skin color. So I think it looks really elegant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my my wet paint mixer brush from my wet paint collection, and it is brush number 34, or no, I used 35, I think. Okay, so if I just take this brush, I had already preloaded it with a gold, so you can kind of get an idea of what the brush looks like. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the brush smoothing up to maybe like about 50% because I want some kind of smoother strokes. 50 might be a little bit much, so sometimes maybe 40 is good. Okay, so I made some really, as you can see here, I made some really simple shapes. So I noticed these flower shapes here had like, usually had like six petals. So I'm going to do the same thing and make a 6-petaled flower. So I've got my brush selected, and make sure that you're using, normally whenever you're using the wet paint brushes, it'll automatically have mixer brush selected. So make sure you're on mixer brush. You'll see whatever color is loaded up here on the top left. And then I'm going to go to this palette that I've created, or, you know, you can sample if you have an image, sample directly from your image. But I'm going to go over here and I'm going to grab one of these pink colors. So I'm going to hover over that. Make sure you have the right layer selected. So you're selecting from wherever your color palette is. I'm going to option click and load that color up into the brush. So I see that it's loaded here. So I'll just, oh, that's really creamy and pretty. Look how gorgeous that is. Okay, so there's a leaf, and I just love how like rich and creamy it looks. So we'll make this one like really big. And so I'm just going to make some nice leaves or nice petals here. Oh my goodness. You can tell I've been like out of tutorial mode for a little bit. Oh my goodness. It's been a hot minute, but I'm excited to be back. So please excuse any brain farts or anything that's happening during my tutorial. It's been a minute. So I'm just going to make those six sort of petals there. So that's cool. It's not as perfect as, say, maybe this one. I made those a little bit more narrow, but we still get the idea. So let's just zoom in here. And so that's the main part of the flower. And if it's not perfect, you know, you can play with it a little bit, but whatever. Good enough. Also, I think next time I'll make the brush smaller so it gives me a bit more control because that brush was a bit big. So the next thing that I'm going to do is create a new layer on top of it. And I'm just going to get like, I'm going to grab my regular brush tool and I'm just going to get any brush that I have, any simple brush. So, or no, you know what I did? Hold on one second. So what I did, oh, I used my little flower stamp brushes. Okay, that's what I did for the center. So what I also did for this tutorial is I created some little leaf and flower stamp brushes. So if I click here, I see I have a little flower shape. So I made 3 flower shape brushes and 5 leaf brushes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to just sample directly from my my Gucci palette here. And I'm going to grab this deep sort of burgundy pink sort of color. So I'm going to grab that color here. What I also did is I also made swatches here. So I made this into a whole creative kit. So you can just You don't have to do all the work that I did. It's just turnkey. You can just grab my brushes, grab the color palettes, and make your own version or your own riff on this. Or do almost, you know, you can pretty much take my template and then make your own illustrations or whatever. So let's go here. Where's my tutorial? So I made a new layer above it, and I just grabbed that flower one brush and I just clicked on here. And you can't see it that well, but that's okay. It's a good size. I'm happy with how it looks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply one of my Creative Couture layer styles on top of that. So I have those layer styles. I don't load up all my layer styles in my layer styles panel because I have a billion. I have too many. And so what I do is I load them up into my libraries. So I've got my styles library here. I can put it on, let's see here. Yeah, I'll put it on like this. So it makes it really fun. And so now I've got that stamp, that color on its own layer. And I'm just going to click through here and find one that looks pretty. The rich glitters are really fun. And as you can see, you can just kind of go through until you find one you like. So I think the Creative Couture collection is a really good match for this design and this inspiration because it's very like glittery, sequiny, kind of inspired by textiles and couture. So there's a lot of really fun styles that you can play with. And the fun thing about the layer styles is that you can just flip down through and find one you like, but you can change it up anytime. So that's what makes it really fun. We've got some textile ones. Some of them are lighter, some of them are darker. Let's see here. I'm gonna find one that's a little, I think I'll go back to like the rich glitter. It's pretty nice. Let's see here. But you know, just kind of make it your own, do whatever. We'll go with the, where is my, let's see here. Okay, rich glitter 8. I think this is descending them in order of the date modified. That's why. I prefer to order these in their name because then if it's date modified, it keeps changing the order and then I can't find my collections. But if I have it by the name, then all of the different collections are together. Like you've got liquid metals, lightly encrusted, metal mixes, rich glitter. So this is good. Rich glitter 21 is a good style. And I think on my demo, I didn't put any sort of drop shadow on these, but I did put them on the whole flower whenever I went to create my compositions. But in this part of it, I didn't make this with a drop shadow. I just kind of left it in the center, and that made a pretty floral design. So I can group these, keep them together, and then after that, I will duplicate that group. And you know, you can always duplicate the group by like right clicking and click duplicate group, or my favorite method is to hold down my option key, or I believe it's alt on a PC, and then just drag and pull that group. And now I've got another group and I can right click and then merge the group. So that way you've got the flower just as a whole. And then you can drag, you know, you can create your illustrations in one document and then drag them into the different documents. So that's exactly what I did. And as you can see here, this was my kind of master document where I created all of the different sort of elements. And I created these, you know, just these nice, smooth sort of shapes. And these pre-made designs are actually going to be part of my package, available to the subscribers, or I think I'll turn it into a creative kit for my website. So what you can do is take the things that I've designed like this already and drag and drop them into your own designs and kind of make your own layouts and your own compositions. So this is the one, here's my merged, yeah, this is my merged document. Although these two, these had got, everything else is fine, but I just noticed that these two had two elements on the same layer. So what I'm going to do, this is a little trick, is let me just get this into the frame here. I'm going to take my lasso tool, select that, and then I'm going to hit, I think it's Command Shift J. Yeah, okay. And it's probably like Control Shift J for a PC. But now that is on its own layer. That takes whatever you've selected and put it on its own layer. And then let me go to layer 34. I'm going to hit Command T so that I can just find that and pull that back into the screen here. And then I'll just pop that above it. Okay, we're good. So yeah, that's that way all these are better on, you know, each one on it. So I have each flower and each thing on its own layer. And I'll just do some leaves now just to kind of show you what you can do. But what I like to do is also blending these colors. I think it's really pretty, but I use the same principle for making the leaves. So let's go back to my tutorial here. Let's move this over to the side and maybe shrink it down a little bit. And I'm going to make a new layer. I'm just going to grab my mixer brush. I'm using the same mixer brush. And so I'm going to make some leaves. So I'll just be on this layer, hover over that really pretty kind of aqua green, make sure it's loaded up into there. And I'm just going to make a pretty leaf shape. Okay. And now I'll go for the darker green. Or maybe I'll go for the blue. Which one do I want to do? No, make for the darker green. So I'll go over here and load up that darker green. And I think I'll make it on the same layer. Yeah. So I like kind of have that little bleeding sort of effect there. So I'll do it like that. And then maybe, yeah, that's nice. Maybe I'll kind of take that, make a stroke here and bleed it into there. So we kind of got that whole vibe going on. Now I'm going to make a new layer underneath that, and I can make like a pretty sort of stroke. And yeah, so we'll just move this a little bit. Maybe so it's, there we go. So we'll go like this. And now, hold on, I'm turning off my snap because that's not really needed right now. So I've got that, and let's see what else. So now I'm going to add some sparkle onto my thing. So I'll make a new layer, and I'll just go ahead, and sometimes I like to see the sparkle as I draw. So I'll just put like a rich glitter already applied, layer style already applied to my layer. And that way, whenever I draw, it'll just show up as I go. So now I'm just going to get my regular brush tool, and I'm going to get just any basic brush. I'm just getting this smooth brush that I created. It's just really smooth and nice. So I want to add some highlights here and make a little bit of sparkle. So I really hope you don't, oh, by the way, there is like a crane outside of my window, and it's going to be there for a while. I have a little lavalier sort of microphone on, so I'm hoping that it's not picking up a lot of background noise because it is loud, but I don't have any choice. They are building a building next door. Okay, so I've got my regular brush, just any old plain old simple regular brush. And now I'm just going to get like kind of that blue-green color. So I could select it from here, but actually I think I'm just going to select it right from this area here. So I'm going to get that nice pretty blue-green. And yeah, I think so. Okay, let me find my, there we go. All right, so now I've got on the new layer, I'm just going to draw some little strokes, and maybe even I'll draw it in that blue-green on this one. That's pretty. And then even I can just, I want everything to be the same style, so I'm just going to pick up some of this green, like a classic green, and then maybe I'll add some sort of stroke like this, add a little green. So do like this, just adding some highlights, just a little fun. So now what I can do is I can flip through and see if I want to change the layer style. So I'll look through my Creative Couture styles and see if there's some that, you know, looks nice. But that's why I love layer styles sometimes, is because that they're changeable. So you can just flip through and find something that you like. And you can change it. So that's a lot of fun. I don't like that one. Let's see here. Got the rich glitters. Probably stick with kind of a rich glitter. That one looks pretty nice. So we'll just stick with rich glitter 9 or maybe 16. But as you can see, they each kind of turn out a different way. Sometimes they're darker. So yeah, the hard part is just choosing one. Okay, we'll go with rich glitter 9. So that's basically how I did it. And one other thing that I did, so you can see here that I took the same principle and then I just drew more strokes, more leaves, just played with it. Here you can see all the different leaves. And then when you create something like this, now I've got my whole base illustrations and now I can just, you know, mix them up. So I drag and dropped them into this vertical background. So this could be something like a something for social media, a vertical social media, or something for Pinterest, some kind of background. And as you can see, I added a slight drop shadow on the elements, which I think were nice. And then what I did was I have those nice wet paintbrush painted flowers, but to accent that, what I did was I used my stamp brush that I created for this collection, like the little flower brushes. So I just stamped them to kind of fill in the spaces and using those as a small one. And it just really like supplements it nice. So I love creating these kits like this. And I set everything up for you so that you can just go and have fun and play with it, you know? And also, if you see here, let's zoom in a little bit. I used one of my my simple tool brushes to kind of put a little bit of a tulle sort of lacy white brush stroke in the background there. And I think that looks really nice because even with these sequiny things, usually there's some sort of mesh net and all of that. So that's a lot of fun. And then what else did I do? Here, I just dragged them onto a square document. And one thing that I like to do is if I'm doing my square documents or I'm doing any kind of setup like this, I like to make it, I think this one I have it like 1500 by 1500, but I make the artboard bigger and then I put like a crop around the side because that way if I paint it off the side and then but I decide to move it, then I've got a little bit more leeway. So that's kind of nice. So I kind of have those templates set up. I make them for myself, and then yeah, that way if I want to move stuff around, you know, you did a brush stroke and you brush stroked it off the side, well then this way you're probably still going to have a little bit more to work with. So that's the idea there. And as you can see, I stamped some of those use those stamp brushes and then just applied a layer style. And then what else? This demo, excuse me. And then but like I don't have any samples of it, but you can use the leaf stamp brushes just the same. So like let's say here, let me get a green or like this minty green, grab my regular brush, grab a leaf, and then you can just you know, stamp some leaf brushes. But those are just little bonus extras, so I'll include that with the creative kit. But it's really nice. I like making these creative kits because it kind of gives you an instant jumping off point, and you don't have to think of what's my color palette going to be, what's my, you know, what brushes am I going to use. But what's great is that these wet color palettes will work with any of my my mixer brushes, my wet paint studio, mainly my wet paint studio, but any of the other mixer brushes that I have in my various collections. And then also you've got these color blend palettes that work with any of my color blending brushes. So modern impressionist, and these are the ones that use the pattern stamps technique. So let me just go here. I'm going to make a new layer. Like here, for example, is a tie-dye brush. So I could, you know, use some tie-dye behind it, but then change the color. And now I've got that lighter pink and then, you know, the green. And, you know, you could do whatever. So it's all there for you and all instantly, you know, in this great color scheme. And, you know, and you can use uh, those color palettes for all my brush collections. Now I have tons more pattern stamp brush collections than I do wet paint mixer brush collections. So you've got all the different color palettes. So it's a whole creative kit. And even if you don't get the creative kit, you probably will learn some foundations here, and I'll have my foundation videos down below in the comments. So this was just a little uh, thing to get me back into the scheme of things. And also, you know, I love to get inspiration from fashion and the runway. And, you know, these trends that are on the runway, they affect, you know, graphic design, they affect interior design, they lead the trends for all over. So this Gucci look was like Resort 2023. So it's fresh, it's nice. We love taking the inspiration from the fashion, but putting our own unique twist on it. It doesn't have to be an exact replica, but it can be a lot of fun. So thanks for everybody for bearing with me for my first tutorial back. It's been a little bit, so if I'm a little rusty, excuse me. That's the reason why. But yeah, just let me know down below if you have any comments or questions. And I will be having this is going to be available as soon as you see this on my Behance. And if you want to purchase it, you can check out my website. And I think I'll probably add that as well to my website. So happy creating. And as always, feel free to hit me up on email or DM and let me know what you want to see next. So I'll see you guys next time.